You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Flora's Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to another episode of Wayback Wednesday. I'm your host, Randy Adcock. So good of you to join us tonight. Glad to have you with us. You know, when my kids were little, they used to watch a show called Sesame Street. I guess it's still on. And every episode seemed to be sponsored by something. It was sponsored by the letter K or the number 2 or something like that. And so with that in mind, I should say, tonight's show is going to be sponsored by the year 1953. All the pictures tonight, with the exception of one or two, and I think they're from 1952 actually, but the vast majority of the pictures tonight are from 53. They come from Charlie Killebrews' collection, and I stumbled across tonight. I was going back and looking through some archives at the UNC Chapel Hill Library, the Wilson Library at Chapel Hill, and I had seen this group of pictures before and kind of skimmed through them. Some of these I have actually seen before. We've actually shared some of these pictures on the show before in prior shows, but when I was going through them today, I kept thinking, man, these are some neat old pictures, and some that, as I said, I had never seen before, some we had. But anyway, we'll get to those in just a minute. Today is Wednesday, June the 9th, so if you're watching on Wednesday, June the 9th, you are watching us live. Any other time, you're watching a replay. So I think the show does replay on Saturday afternoons and Sunday afternoons. If you happen to miss an episode on Wednesday night, you can tune back in to WHIG on Saturday, and I think it's 3 o'clock. Somebody who follows it can kind of maybe fill me in. I don't ever catch on the weekends. I'm always busy doing something. But anyway, both Saturday and Sunday, the show does replay for those that would like to catch it if they miss it on Wednesday night. There, we got a caller already. Let's get this call. Hello there, you're on the air. Hello, caller.
How you doing, buddy?
Hey, good.
You're cutting out, in and out.
The microphone is cutting in and out?
Oh, your TV, your picture's freezing.
Okay, I'm glad you brought this up. How are you watching the show, on the cable system or over the internet?
Cable system.
Cable, is it Suddenlink?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, we've been having a few of the viewers call me and let me know they're having some problems getting the show. Most of those appear to be coming or having problems when they're streaming over the internet. So you're the first one that I've heard from who's actually having problems watching it live over the cable.
No, I just want to let you know.
I appreciate that, sure do.
Good night, buddy.
Okay, and I was going to bring that up in a minute, so caller was right on time there. I'd like to just kind of put a word out tonight. How are you receiving this broadcast? Are you watching it via Suddenlink? Are you watching it over the internet? We have had a few viewers, in fact, tell me that they have some issues with it buffering, stopping, starting, hitching, glitching, and so forth. When you're viewing over the internet, that's probably going to be just, unfortunately, part of the internet. Much to my dismay, there's just not a really good internet streaming service in Rocky Mount. Neither CenturyLink nor Suddenlink do a really good job of this, unless you happen to be very, very fortunate to have a very good internet connection, in which case, congratulate yourself, because that's rare. But anyway, we'll kind of put our feelers out, see if we can figure out what's going on here, and hopefully get a little better signal coming out to you, regardless of how you watch the show. We do thank you for watching, by the way, again. So. We're talking about 1953. There was a lot, and this was before my time, by the way. So some of you, I'm sure, will remember 1953 quite fondly. Some of you were not thought about yet. Some of us in that category of too young to remember. But I thought it'd be neat to kind of look back at some of the things that took place in 1953. So when I first got to the station tonight, I pulled up my old trusty smartphone here. And I'm not going to go through all this. It's several pages of things that just neat facts in history that happened in 1953. At the beginning of the year, of course, Harry Truman was the president. But in January, there was a change, and Dwight D. Eisenhower became president. And so anyway, there was, again, a lot of things happened. It says on January 19th, 68% of all the television sets in the United States were tuned in to I Love Lucy to watch Lucille Ball give birth. How about that? Let's see here. Oh, gee, there's just so many. It's hard to pick, choose. It says February 19th, Georgia approves the first literature censorship board in the U.S. March 17th, the first nuclear test of Operation Upshot Knothole is conducted in Nevada. Let's see, in March 31st, due to increasingly lower ridership, Staten Island Rapid Transit closes 2 of its 3 passenger lines, South Beach to North Shore. In May 25th, nuclear testing at the Nevada test site, it conducts its first and only nuclear artillery test. Again, it's 1953. This is all going on 1953. June the 9th, CIA Technical Services staff and Sidney Gottlieb approves the use of LSD in a sub-project. They started experimenting around with psychopathic drugs and so forth, 1953. In July, the Short Creek raid is carried out on a polygamous Mormon sect in Arizona. July 27th, the Korean War ends in 1953. The United States, the People's Republic of China, North Korea, and South Korea signed an armistice agreement ending all hostilities. July 28th, 1953, Burger King opened its first restaurant in Jacksonville, Florida. Let's see, August 19th. In 1953, the Iranian coup d'etat, the CIA helps to overthrow the democratic government of Mohammad Mossadegh in Iran and retains Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi on the throne. I didn't realize that much U.S. interference, for lack of a better word, in the Middle East going back that far, but obviously for many decades the U.S. has been involved in some manner in Middle East politics, not always to our advantage, I might throw out there just for what it's worth. October 5th, Earl Warren is appointed Chief Justice of the United States by U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower. Also October 5th, the New York Yankees defeated the Brooklyn Dodgers 4-2 to win their 16th World Series title. October 5th, 1953. Okay, it goes on, but like I said, this picture collection just happened to be almost everything in it. I think there's 1, maybe 2 pictures that were 1952, but the vast majority of all of these are 1953. And some of our collections, there's several, in other words, same type photographs, different scenes, different angles and so forth. So without further ado, the first grouping is from Brattleboro, and it was the Carter Pope Farm. I never knew Mr. Pope. I've heard the name. I'm sure some of you probably remember him. But, he had apparently a fairly large farming operation. And when I was looking at these pictures, I couldn't help but smile because my grandfather was a farmer out from Brattleboro. And a lot of these pictures have to do with peanut farming. We quite often talk about the tobacco industry in the eastern part of North Carolina, and particularly right here in this area, and how important it was to the growth and development of Rocky Mount, and certainly it was. Tobacco and soybean and cotton, but peanuts too have been an integral part of the agribusiness in this area, going back to the beginning of Rocky Mount's early history. So anyway, Lee, let's go to the first picture here. This is Mr. Carter Pope, Brattleboro. This one is, and that's him there holding up, I believe that's a sweet potato. Just in the picture it's identified as Carter Pope holding a potato, but that looks to me to be a sweet potato. Fairly large one, I might add. But anyway, can't say I ever had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Pope. Some of you may remember him. But in any case, this picture was actually one of the few that was dated 1952. And then there was several, 4 or 5, that were actually listed as 1953 in the caption. And these are also from Mr. Carter Pope Farm. So Lee, let's go ahead to the next one then. And this one is actually showing peanut harvesting, obviously. You see the haystacks in the background there. I don't know who this gentleman is in the foreground with the rag over his face. But in any case, you see the haystacks out in the field there. The peanut vines would be wrapped around the posts to dry out there. And as a small child, I was too young to really be of any kind of assistance in the farming operation, but I do remember as a small child, my grandfather did farm. I remember seeing these haystacks, and so I watched farming at a bit of a distance, if you will, as a small child, too young to participate, but I still have some vivid memories and some fond memories too of the farming operation that took place with my grandfather's little operation out there. Okay, let's go to the next picture then. And again, these are all from 1953 here. All these peanut pictures here from 1953. Oh, we've got a call. Let's get this call. Hello, caller. You on the air?
I'd love to know what brand of bib overalls that guy had on that you just left a picture there of.
Yeah. They go back a ways, I'm sure. I don't think they were brand new there in that picture for sure.
No, and then again, he was running around with a mask on, but I don't think he's wandering about on account of a fear of COVID-19.
He's probably trying to keep from eating all that peanut dust floating in the air.
Right. See you.
All right, buddy. Okay. All right, Lee, let's go to the next picture then. And this was something I thought was just neat. This is obviously mules dragging a guy around on some kind of pallet, it looks like. He's got an old wash tub between his legs there, and I'm not sure, maybe that's lime. I'm not exactly sure what's going on in this picture here, but it looks like whatever it is, he's got it all over him. And so, but anyway, I can't say I've ever seen this particular method of getting any kind of substance out in the field. So again, I don't know what he's going on here, but old mule seems to be content with his job for the day. And the guy sitting there on that pallet being drugged along by the mule certainly got an easier job in this effort on this day out in the peanut field for sure. All right, Lee, let's go to the next one then. And this, I believe, this picture was not captioned at all. It just said Peanut Harvest 1953. I believe they're grading here. I think is what this is here. Not sure where this facility is. You know, at one time there was 3 or 4 peanut grading operations around Nash and Edgecombe counties. No, but 2 or 3 anyway out in Edgecombe County. And so, we got a call. Let's get this call here. Hello, caller, you on the air?
Yeah, Randy, this guy is on a sled, and he's got land plaster, and he's putting the land plaster on the peanuts.
Okay, back up a minute, Lee. Let's look at that picture again. So explain to me a little bit about this land plaster now. What is that?
That's the calcium you put on the top of peanuts, and it's taken in through the leaves.
Okay.
Fill out the nuts.
So it's basically just calcium?
Yeah, it's called land plaster, and at that time, it was before they had these little carts that had the little shakers over each row. You had to sit there with that in the barrel and just put it one in each hand and cover 2 rows as you went through.
So what's the mule dragging? Is it like a pallet?
They made a little slide, sort of like a little short tobacco slide.
Okay.
As long as he had a little seat on there, and he had that bucket in front full of land plaster, and he'd go and just sprinkle it on the top of the plant.
Wow. Well, I've never seen this done to my knowledge. I didn't know anything about this process here.
Oh yeah, we did that when I started.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow. Did you know Mr. Carter Pope?
Oh yeah.
I figured you probably did.
Yeah, I remember him going into his store when he was way up in his 80s, and he'd have a woman about 50 years old sitting in his lap. And
Where was his store?
What that amounted to.
Where was his store?
His store was right across from the depot, right off the railroad track.
Okay.
Right down behind Joe Bozeman's peanut operation.
So a little north of.
Just north of. Actually, just north of those last buildings on the left-hand side, going north on that path.
I got you. I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay. Well, what kind of signal you got tonight on your CenturyLink?
No buffer in the night whatsoever. Not one time.
Great. I'm glad to hear that. Okay, buddy.
All right.
Thanks for calling in.
Bye-bye.
All right. So there you go, land plaster. You sprinkle it out on the plants and it's absorbed by the leaves to help the peanut plants grow. Watch this show, folks. You'll learn something, I promise, every week. Okay. All right, Lee, let's go to the next picture then. And again, this is the grading that was taking place inside one of the buildings. I'm not sure where this was. Again, these were all just listed as Carter Pope Peanut Harvest, 1953. Okay, also in 1953 was the Chamber of Commerce Farm Festival. And this is something I think we've seen a few pictures in the past at some prior shows about the Farm Festival. And I have to be honest here, this was not identified as being the Rocky Mount or the Nashville or the Tarboro, so I'm not 100% sure. But since all these pictures were grouped together, I'm thinking this was probably the Rocky Mount. But it was just, they were all captioned the same way as a Chamber of Commerce Farm Festival 1953. So okay, Lee, let's go to the very next picture. Oh, there you go. I forgot this one here. This is the last peanut picture here. And you see the bag of peanut there in the front. So this is obviously a harvest operation going on here. And they're bagging up the peanuts there. So I think that is the last one in the peanut grouping there. So, okay, Lee. So let's go to the next one then. And this should be here we go. This was the first picture in the grouping of the Chamber of Commerce Farm Festival. And this is the Rocky Mount City Pool. If you look just to your left there, the lady on the left, just over her right shoulder, is one of the high diving boards down there. The merry-go-round would be off to your left. The front entrance to the pool would be off to your right. And it's a better picture. In a couple minutes, I'll show you a better picture of this. But this was the Chamber of Commerce Farm Festival, 1953. These three young ladies were not identified. I have no idea who they are. If you recognize yourself, call in, let us know. 407-1111 is the number. Love to hear from you. All right, Lee. So let's go to the next picture then. And this grouping again is referred, it was all captioned as the Chamber of Commerce Farm Festival 1953. And this lovely young lady here is sitting on what I believe is a John Deere tractor. Don't know who she is either. She was not identified. And I'm not even sure where this picture was taken, but it was in this same grouping. And so she may have been one of the girls that were out there by the pool a few minutes ago. I'm not sure in that previous picture. All right, Lee. So let's go to the next one then. And the next picture, there was some entertainment obviously going on. I'm not sure. This was not identified either, other than, as I said, they were all captioned the same way. Chamber of Commerce Farm Festival 1953. I believe this is in a tobacco warehouse. And I say that because, first of all, it looks kind of dark. It could have been an outdoor event, too, and it could have just been nighttime. I'm not positive. But whoever this gentleman is, he drew a big crowd, obviously, and they seem to be impressed with the talent that he put out there for them that night. Okay, Lee, let's go to the next picture then. And this next one, I believe, is just another entertainment picture from the same event. And this was probably... I'm sure there were more than one entertainers that came, because I didn't take all the pictures that were in this grouping because there were frankly several of them, but there were different ones who were playing guitar and performing, and so I think Lee, can we get the next one up? There we go. And again, if you look at the top of this picture, this to me looks to be the top of a tobacco warehouse. I don't know which one, I have no idea where it was at. It could have been any one of the dozens of tobacco warehouses that were anywhere in this part of the state back then. But these were all in the same grouping, and as I said, since there were some pictures of the Sunset Park pool, I'm thinking, pretty sure this was the Rocky Mount Chamber of Commerce Farm Festival. But in any case, again, these are all 1953 in this grouping here. So, okay, Lee, let's go to the next one then. Here we go. This is the other picture I was talking about. It's got the the Sunset Park pool. This is obviously the building there where you come in the front entrance there, and the men's side was on one side, the women's on the other side, and this was the shallow end of the pool, of course. And again, these ladies were, I'm assuming, participating in some kind of beauty pageant that was part of the Chamber of Commerce Farm Festival in 1953. And the gentleman over to the far left of your screen seems to be trying to get an eyeful as he's bending over there looking to see if he can get a better view of the ladies as they're posing for this picture to be made. So he's got the best seat in the house other than the photographer, it looks like. So anyway, okay, I think there's one more, Lee, that this is not necessarily a farm. Yeah, this is a neat picture here, and I had to zoom in on this to get my bearings. This is actually River Drive. It's hard to see in this picture, but the river, Tar River, is over on your right. You're looking south. River Drive is off to your left. And I don't know if it'll zoom in and be clear enough to see, but you can see a little bit of a reflection. The man in the middle who is squatted down, just above his head, you can see the reflection of the light on the surface of the river. And way back in the back there through those trees is actually the bridge going over Tar River there by Chico's. And so apparently this part of Sunset Park, where they built up the riverbank there, and you see they put these pilings in there, I'm guessing, to keep the riverbank from washing away when the river rose and overflowed its banks. But this was done in 1953 also, and it was just identified as Sunset Park. But again, River Drive to your left, the Tar River's to your right, And Lee, I'm just curious, try zooming in and let's just see if we can catch a glimpse of the Tar River Bridge. On my computer at my desk, I could zoom in enough to see it, but like I said, I captured this picture from the screen image on my computer, and it may not be quite as clear if we zoom in here. And if it starts getting blurry, it's okay. We won't belay the point, but if we got an option, there we go. Again, the guy in the middle who's stooped down there, right above, you can see the reflection of the water there, and it's hard to tell. It does start to get a little bit grainy, but you can see the Tar River Bridge in the background there, going over the Tar River there, Sunset Avenue Bridge going over the Tar River. So again, 1953, the Sunset Park River Drive, and there was not a whole lot of detail other than what I've given out, but again, my guess is they were putting these pilings in place and trying to do some things to protect the shoreline of the river there from washing away. So I'll tell you what, Lee, this is a good time for our first commercial break. Bring it back to me if you would. Folks, we've got some more pictures to show you, got some more things to talk about and tell you about. So we'll be right back with more Wayback Wednesday in just a minute. Don't go anywhere.
You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Flores Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
I'm Daniel Moss, owner of Cornerstone Funeral Home, and I'd like to invite you and your family to give our family an opportunity to serve you in your time of need. And we offer a full line of funeral services, everything from visitations to graveside services to cremations on site with a live crematory, as well as a banquet hall to meet the catering needs of our families that we serve. We offer catering service. We offer refreshments prior to visitations and services of our family. And we want to invite you to come and experience the difference here at Cornerstone Funeral Home.
Hello, I'm Gus Tullis, here with exciting news on the Affordable Health Care Act special enrollment period. The enrollment period runs from February 15th through May the 15th. If you want to enroll now in the Affordable Care Act, call me today. There are no service fees.
Local businesses in Wilson, Nash, and Edgecombe counties have something to share with you.
Oh, hi! Welcome to Lillian Lane. I'm Terry. Glad you're here. Looks like spring has finally arrived, and we have got everything that you need to stay cool and fashionable throughout the season, no matter what the occasion. Come check us out. You'll be glad you did.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Miller with P.O. Woodard & Company. Come and see us for all your lawn and garden and power equipment needs. If we don't have it, you don't need it.
Brought to you by WHIG and these fine businesses.
When faced with special care needs for elderly or disabled loved ones, families want compassionate, comforting care. That's Tender Touch Home Care Services' goal, providing the level of care we would expect for our own. With over 10 years of home care excellence, Tender Touch provides an array of services that keeps your loved one at home. From personal care, light housekeeping, errands, and meal preparation, to our private duty care program, which combines all of our home care offerings in one package.
Tender Touch Home Care Services, where your needs are our concern.
We're in our 18th year of practice at the Hammer Chiropractic Center, and we've seen over 15,000 different people in the Rocky Mount area. 40% of headaches actually come from a neck problem. Many patients come in taking multiple aspirin, over-the-counter medications and such a day, and we can get you to stop doing that and actually fix the problem so the headaches don't arise anymore. A lot of people think chiropractic hurts. It does not. Most of the people come in and they feel great when they leave.
You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Flores Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
And we're back. Folks, if you're just tuning in, you're watching Wayback Wednesday. I'm Randy Adcox. Glad you could join us tonight. Tonight's show is sponsored by the number 1953. And we're showing pictures from the Charlie Killebrew collection from 1953. I think there's at least one, perhaps two or three of these pictures. Actually, I think it's only three. I'm looking over my list now. Three of them are from 1952. All the others are showing tonight are from 1953, but they were all in the same collection, the Charlie Killebrew collection at the UNC Wilson Library in Chapel Hill. During the break, I was actually going back through this list of things that happened in 1953 that I had pulled up on my phone earlier, and a couple interesting notes that I wanted to share with you. Number one, in a few minutes I'm going to show you some pictures of a tornado that came through Leggett in 1953 and did quite a bit of damage. Ironically, in 1953, on May the 11th, the Waco tornado outbreak, an F5 tornado, hits the downtown section of Waco, Texas, killing 114 people. You know, tornadoes have just over the years, and for many, many decades for that matter, been associated with a lot of property damage, a lot of life, loss of life, and certainly they can and they have the potential to be deadly anytime an outbreak of a tornado occurs anywhere. And I don't know that anyone was injured or hurt or killed in the Leggett tornado 53, but we'll show you some pictures in a minute of that. Another neat thing that I ran across here was June 30th of 1953, the very first Corvette was built in Flint, Michigan. Now, that jumped out at me because just yesterday I watched a special on one of the History channels, I think it was, and I've heard something I never knew before. This may come as news to you, and for you automobile aficionados, it may not be a surprise. But I found out yesterday there was never a 1983 Corvette released to the public. 1983 was supposed to be the 30th anniversary of the first Corvette, I should say. And so there was big grand plans in store for the 1983 Corvette. It was the first Corvette to have digital display, for example. It had engine improvements. I mean, it had suspension improvements, lighter alloy metals, and so forth. It was just a radically redesigned car. The point was not to make a new Corvette, but to make a better Corvette. And so they had a lot of automotive engineers, a lot of ideas thrown to the table. And as it turns out, there was just so many different ideas and so many things they were trying to implement, they couldn't get them all in and get them in place and get the car released in 1983. There was something like 45 cars that were built in 1983, Corvettes, that were all prototypes. And one by one, they were all destroyed except one. And that one Corvette was actually somehow or another forgotten, misplaced. It was found some years later outside the assembly plant. And my understanding is, at least according to the show I was watching, this show was a few years old, I was watching yesterday, but that Corvette was in the Corvette Museum in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Well, some of you may remember here a few years ago, there was a major sinkhole developed in that Corvette museum in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and hundreds of thousands of Corvettes fell into this big hole. I don't know if this lone remaining only one to exist 1983 Corvette was amongst those that fell in the hole or not. I'll do some more digging and try to find that out. But in any case, it was a surprise to me that there was never a 1983 Corvette released to the public. In '84, there was, of course, a Corvette, and every year since then there's been one released, but not in '83. Okay, so Anyway, let's jump back to the pictures, Lee. We mentioned about the tornadoes. There was a tornado that hit Leggett in 1953. I found these pictures to be quite interesting. I don't know where this was. I don't know. It looks to be a very rural area, but then again, Leggett still is very rural, obviously. But anyway, let's jump into these pictures, and let's go to the first one. This happened March the 16th of 1953. And as you can see, it destroyed this building here, this home. It looks like a house, actually. I'm not certain. It could be a store, too. It's hard to tell. The damage is so complete there. I mean, it just tore it to shreds. And you see the trees. To be March 16th, the middle of March, you know, you'd have thought there'd been some leaves on the trees, and there may have been before the storm came through. But if there were, it stripped off most of the leaves. You see the tree in the background. They're like pine trees in the background. They survived, it looks like, but these trees in the foreground especially have almost all the leaves stripped off of them. So pretty severe storm. I didn't see any reference to what category tornado it was. They rate them from F1 to F5, so I'm not sure exactly how strong this storm was, but you'll see in the other pictures it did quite a bit of damage where it landed, where it hit. Okay, Lee, let's go to the next picture then. And this one is actually, I think this is another house beside it. You see, it looks like they're kind of to your left. It's like a floor of a house. There's a chair sitting there, a ladder back chair looks like. But the house itself is gone, literally gone. I mean, there's nothing standing on this particular house. And it looks like to the right over there, that's another house altogether, I think. And as you can see, it lost its roof. You can see daylight come in through the windows there. So, but again, this was 1953, March the 16th of 1953 in Leggett, North Carolina. And I don't remember ever hearing about this tornado. And I don't know that it might have not been more than one. I don't know. It just, these pictures were just all identified as Leggett tornado in 1953. So, okay, Lee, let's go to the next one then. And I think, there you go. This is, ironically, this house seemed to fare pretty well. There's a tree blowed over. Those two gentlemen there looking at that tree that's blown over. You can see the root balls lifted up, and it just barely, like it grazed the side of the house there. But the old house managed to weather the storm and is still standing. So, you know, and this is typical what you see in tornado damage. It can be extensive damage to one area and barely any damage at all in another. So you never know. But it just goes to show the way a tornado tracks and moves about. It can do a lot of damage. It could also spare damage to certain areas. So, okay, Lee, let's go to the next one then. This next picture is actually, this looks to be a bit of either a commercial operation, it could be a farming operation too. It's really hard to tell. I mean, again, with some extensive damage here. You can see the building to your right is totally collapsed. That looks like a roof over to the left. And again, I don't know, none of these were identified by location other than the fact that it was a Leggett tornado. So if any of this looks familiar to anyone, give us a call. 407-1111 is the number. If you just joined us, we're watching, looking at some pictures from Leggett, North Carolina. These are all from the Charlie Killebrew collection from 1953, with the exception of one or two that are from 1952. But again, all these are Charlie Killebrew pictures. All right, Lee, I think there might be one more in this grouping. That's in this tornado grouping, I mean. There you go. This appears to be a residential section, obviously. You can see in the foreground there that big tree is blown over. Power lines have been brought down. This looks to be a semi, rural area, but just extreme damage there by this tornado that came through. So, okay. All right, Lee. This next picture is actually down on Falls Road. Many of you may remember Miss Mary Flores run a business for many years down there, Smith's Flores. And so I stumbled across a couple pictures this afternoon when I was looking at these pictures, and again, these were in the same grouping, Charlie Killebrew. Oh, I forgot this picture here. This is actually cornfield. Same collection of Leggett tornado pictures, and this gentleman is holding a stalk of corn. I don't know if this was the only corn stalk that was left standing, or he reached over and pulled it up and said, look, here's what's left of my corn. But it looks pretty bizarre if you look at the foreground and the background all around him, and all these stalks of corn are laying over on the side. And if that one stalk was the only one that managed to survive, it's got to be a pretty hardy stalk of corn. But and I don't know who this gentleman is. Again, these were all part of that same collection of the Leggett tornado, 1953, March the 16th of 1953. Okay, Lee, so now we should be into the Mary Smith florist pictures, and there's only a couple of these in this. There you go. I remember Miss Smith, two sons, James and Ernie, and my grandparents used to buy plants from her. And of course, obviously a lot of folks did down around the Mill Hill down there, up down Falls Road and streets around the area. But this was her greenhouse out in the back of her florist over on Falls Road. She was only about a block from the intersection of Falls Road and Ridge Street. I don't know if you know that area. This was out behind her house was where the florist shop was. But anyway, and then this next picture, Lee, let's go ahead and pull this up. This was, I think this is what you call a swag. Some of you ladies may know a more specific name for it, but in any case, it's obviously interwoven not pictures, but flowers. And there's a bird cage, and there's birds in the bird cage, butterflies on the bird cage. This thing was just, I guess it was built for some kind of special occasion. And I'm guessing Miss Smith put this together too. But, and it could have been something that was done for some kind of event, some kind of parade perhaps, I'm not sure. But this looks to me to be something that was built for a special purpose, obviously. So, anyway. Okay, I'll tell you what, Lee. Let's go ahead to the next one. We've got there's a couple of pictures here that I was a little surprised to run across this because I hadn't seen this building. I had to stop and think. This is the old Pilot Freight building, and some of you may remember where this was, and some, if you don't remember, the building is still standing, by the way. It's out on Highway 97 east of Rocky Mount. If you take the bridge that goes over by the old Pepsi-Cola bottling plant, as you come in off the bridge, there's a stoplight there, and you go straight on through that light, and a little ways down the left-hand side is where this building is. The building is literally falling in now. I used to know a fellow that rented this building and run a trucking operation out of it, but it's been many, many years since Pilot Motor Freight was operating out of there. And this picture again was from 1952. The next two pictures are from 1952. But I'm not sure how old this building was in 52. It looks to be relatively new. But it is really in bad shape now. I was in there, it's been about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago now, and it was in shambles then. The roof was falling in certain parts. Only part of the building was able to be used. The offices were up front there, and the loading docks were back in the back, and the loading docks particularly were in really bad shape. But at one time this was a busy hub, and a lot of materials were shipped in and out of Rocky Mount on Pilot Freight lines, and this was the shipping and dropping off point here. Let's go to the other one, Lee. There you go. And I don't recognize any of these gentlemen. Again, this was all before I was born, so if anyone recognizes these gentlemen, but these were all either owners, co-owners, or some kind of dignitary associated with the Pilot Motor Freight Company. Actually, when I cropped this picture out, I cut it off a little bit, but across the top, this was actually a picture of one of the trucks in the back, one of the trailers in the background there, and you could read the word Pilot across the top, but I cropped it down to kind of zoom in on these gentlemen here. And like I said, I don't recognize any of them. I'm not sure who they are, but they were all associated in some way with Pilot Freight. So I tell you what, Lee, this is a good spot as any to take our next commercial break. Bring it back to me. We've only got a few pictures left in this collection tonight. There was many more were in this 1953 grouping of Charlie Killebrews. And what I thought I would do next week is try to, take another grouping year, because on that UNC library website where these pictures are, they're grouped by year, from like 40 to 51 and so forth and so on. And they go all the way up to the 1960s. And so I just happened to pick a group of 1953, and there were a bunch more. There were pictures from Spring Hope and from Tarboro And some of those are pretty neat too, some old buildings and old houses and business and so forth. So I'll try to get some of those together for next week's show. But I think this is a good time to take a break. If you need to use a little potty room or get yourself a snack, go ahead and take care of that little business, and then come on back and we'll show you some more pictures from 1953. We'll be right back.
Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
Local businesses in Wilson, Nash, and Edgecombe counties have something to share with you.
For cash loans, come and see us on gold, guns, and electronics, locally owned and operated.
Hi everybody, it's Millie down at Don Bullock Chevrolet, and I'd love to hand you the keys to this beautiful Trail Boss. Come on down to Don Bullock Chevrolet and find out why we do it the better way at Don Bullock Chevrolet.
Brought to you by WHIG and these fine businesses.
I'm Daniel Moss, owner of Cornerstone Funeral Home, and I'd like to invite you and your family to give our family an opportunity to serve you in your time of need. And we offer a full line of funeral services, everything from visitations to graveside services to cremations on site with a live crematory, as well as a banquet hall to meet the catering needs of our families that we serve. We offer catering service, we offer refreshments prior to visitations and services of our family, and we want to invite you to come and experience the difference here at Cornerstone Funeral Home.
And meal preparation to our private duty care program, which combines all of our home care offerings in one package.
Tender Touch Home Care Services, where your needs are our concern.
We're in our 18th year of practice at the Hammer Chiropractic Center, and we've seen over 15,000 different people in the Rocky Mount area. 40% of headaches actually come from a neck problem. Many patients come in taking multiple aspirin, over-the-counter medications and such a day, and we can get you to stop doing that and actually fix the problem so the headaches don't rise anymore. A lot of people think chiropractic hurts. It does not. Most of the people come in and they feel great when they leave.
You're now watching Wayback Wednesday, sponsored by Flora's Glass and Mirror Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.
Just tuning in, you're watching Wayback Wednesday. I'm Randy Adcox. Glad you could join us tonight. During the break, I was reading some messages I got on my phone, and I had another message from another customer who said they're watching the show tonight on Suddenlink Cable TV, and they're having some buffering issues too. So we're going to do some investigating and see if we can find out. I mean, there's a couple different entities involved in getting the show broadcast out on the airways and so forth, and I'm not privy to all the details of how that works and don't fully understand it myself. So, we got a call. Let's get this caller. Hello, caller. You're on the air.
Good evening, Randy. How you doing?
I'm great, sir. How are you?
I'm good for an old man.
I hear you.
Just wanted to call and let you know that I'm watching your show on a TV antenna.
Okay.
And the signal is breaking up. I don't know what they're doing out there, but the technicians need to know about that.
You know what? You're right, and I agree completely. I was just making a mention about a message I got during the break. Someone else said they were having the same issues, and they're watching over cable TV. So, ironically...
You have a good day.
Thank you, sir. You too. Ironically, it was not too terribly long ago. If you ever ride out here by the studio here at Wesleyan College, in case you didn't know that, in the Science and Technology building, but I don't know, probably a year ago, maybe, if not that long, they cut a swath of trees down out here between the building where the station is and all the way over to Tom Betts Highway over here. And the purpose of that was to get a better view of the satellites and everything involved to allow for the transmission of the broadcast signal. So, that was something that I guess Wesleyan agreed to do. The station asked them to do, and they agreed. So that was done in an effort to improve the reception and so forth. I'd like to think there's probably more we can do, and we'll certainly look into that. Where I live now, I can't get the show at all, sadly, other than over the internet. And it does, when I watch on the internet, it does kind of buffer too. So the internet signal buffering is a little different than what you're seeing on somebody like Suddenlink, for example, cable system. And so, but I'll check into it, see if we can get some answers, and maybe we can improve the broadcast signal. In the meantime, I thank you for bearing with us through this, how we work through these little technical glitches, but we'll get it figured out and get a good quality signal one way or the other. So thanks for watching, and thanks for bearing with us. We appreciate it. Okay, I think I just got another message. Before we jump back into the pictures. Yeah, this another message says even the commercials are buffering. We're trying to watch. So there's obviously some kind of technical issue going on, and it may be that it's outside the station, because there is another entity that kind of takes a signal that we produce, and then they kind of push it outward over the airwaves and the internet and different. So it goes in different paths, I guess you'd say. So we'll check into that. We'll see if we can get a better signal. And thanks for bearing with us. We appreciate your willingness to deal with the buffering and the freezing and everything else to watch the show. It means more than you know. Okay, Lee, let's jump back into pictures then. We've got only a handful left, so we're going to go through these next ones, and then we'll take some calls. We'll have some discussion. We'll talk about some things. In 1953, there was a business down on Falls Road, Rocky Mount floor covering. I don't remember this. It was before my time. And ironically, the address given in the picture was 909 Falls Road. So before the show tonight, I actually went on the internet and I looked to see where 909 Falls Road was. And ironically, 909 Falls Road is the spot right where Calvin Creech's barbershop used to be, right beside the hot dog stand on Falls Road. And so I don't know if they've changed the, and that does happen from time to time. They change the address scheme on a street, and so that could have happened. And it's also possible that the street address listed in the caption of the photograph was incorrect. But in any case, Lee, let's go to the next picture. This is the Rocky Mount floor covering building that, in the caption anyway, was listed as 909 Falls Road. And like I said, today, 909 Falls Road, for those that know the area around the hot dog stand down there, hot dog stand was 907. The old Calvin Creech barbershop is 909. I think Skip Easy's got the whole building now, and so it, but still, this building could not have fit in that space because Ridge Street comes right along beside it there. There's just not enough room for a building this wide to be in that location. So it's possible that the photograph itself was captioned incorrectly. But if anybody remembers Rocky Mount Flooring Company, give us a call, 407-1111, because I'm kind of curious as to exactly where this building was. I can't say I remember it at all, and it looks to me almost like a building that would be more down toward the Main Street part of Falls Road. But again, unless it was right across the street from the hot dog stand, but I don't even think there was a laundromat there that I remember. This building doesn't look anything like that building, so I'm just not sure where this was. But in 1953, and I went into the city directory too and looked, and it was listed as 909 Falls Road. But again, it could have been that they have since then renamed or renumbered the addresses up and down Falls Road. So anyway, all right, Lee, let's go to the next picture then. And this, of course, is the merry-go-round at Sunset Park. Spent a many happy hour here as a child myself, and then when my kids came along, we enjoyed taking the kids down there and riding the hobby horses there on the merry-go-round. I haven't been down there recently and looked to see. I know for a while the merry-go-round was taken down. I've not noticed whether they put it back up or not. I won't have to ride by and take a look and see if it's back up and operational. But anyway, I also remember hearing about, and some of you will remember this, downstairs, if I understand, the basement of the Masonic Temple over on Church Street, beside what used to be Sears. One of the banks has got that building now. But I've heard tell stories about what was called the Teenage Club, and they met downstairs in the basement of the Masonic Temple, there beside Sears. And again, by the time I came along, there was no such thing, so I can't say I ever attended anything to do with the Teenage Club at the Masonic Temple. But this next picture shows a couple of young fellows, and only one of them was identified. I don't know which one he is, but one of these gentlemen is Aubrey Allman, and I got to believe that's some relation to Jean Allman or her family, but I don't know which one is which. And but anyway, this was captioned as the Teenage Club with Aubrey Allman, in 1953. So if anyone recognizes either one of these two young men, or if you've got any stories or memories about the Teenage Club in the Masonic Temple, give us a call. 407-1111 is the number. I've heard there were dances down there and different things that took place, but again, this was all before my time. I did have opportunity to go into Masonic Temple when I was a young fella. They offered, Mr. and Miss Sorrell offered ballroom dancing classes down there. And not in the basement, but in the Masonic Lodge, Masonic Temple. And I took classes there. But we got a call. Let's get this call. Hello, caller. You on the air?
Yes, Randy.
Yes, sir.
Rocky Mountain Tile Company.
Yes, sir.
Was on South Church Street, crossing the Tip Top Bakery.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Okay, so this picture was captioned wrong then. Across from the Tip Top Bakery. I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay.
And the building's probably still there.
Well, I'm going to have to take a look at it. I kept looking at that building. I said, I just can't place this building anywhere on Falls Road, but it was captioned as 909 Falls Road. So anyway, thank you so much for sharing that with us. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Have a good night. There you go. Okay. So anyway, the Teenage Club in the basement had long since gone away by the time I took ballroom dancing under Mr. and Miss Sorrell there, and that was in the early 1970s. But anyway, I heard some neat stories about the Teenage Club down there. Okay, Lee, let's go to the next picture then. This last grouping pictures, and there's only 4 in this grouping. Again, it's 1953, and this is Wilkerson School. These kids look awfully young to me. I'm not sure whether it's kindergarten or first grade, but and I'm thinking this was some kind of play that was being presented. And these kids are adorable in their little costumes. The little fellow on the bottom, in the front row, in the far left, dressed in the wizard or warlock or whatever he is. The scowl on his face is worth $1 million. It's hard to tell in this picture. But I zoomed in on these kids to see if any of them looked vaguely familiar to me, and none of them did, of course. But when I zoomed in on this kid on the front row, in the far left, wearing the witch's hat there, I cracked up. Okay, let's get this caller. Hello, caller, you on the air?
Yeah, Randy, that picture of the 2 ping pong players, of course, this has been years and years ago, but it looks like Aubrey Allman on the right and Seabury Thorpe on the left.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We used to go down there when I graduated from high school. It was 51. It was still going good.
And you say Aubrey was on the right, and the other fellow's name was what again?
Seabury Thorpe.
How do you spell his first name?
Seabury or Seabury.
Seabury Thorpe.
But it's been about 70 years ago. Yeah. But that looks like what I picture them as back when I knew them.
Uh-huh. Well, like I said, neither one of them were identified specifically, and they only listed one name, and that was the Aubrey Allman. So So what, did you remember, I understand they had dances and...
Oh, yeah, they had a jukebox down there, and they had dances that opened up after school hours, and they'd walk from Rocky Mount High School over there and have dances, and they sold soft drinks and things like that, snacks.
You know, I think I remember my mother saying she went there, because she went to Rocky Mount High School. She graduated in '58. But I think I remember her saying she went to the teenage club down there in the basement of the Masonic.
Yeah, it was going before I went to school over there, and after I left to go in services.
Mm-hmm.
Still going when I left.
Right. Yeah, I don't know when it ceased to be operational down there. Like I said, it was in the early '70s when I took ballroom dance class in the temple down there, and by that time I hadn't heard anything about the teenage club by then. So anyway, okay, buddy. How's your signal tonight?
You gonna show us a few steps on TV one night?
Oh, I don't know, man. It's been a long time since I did a foxtrot or a Roomba or I could do them though. At one time, I could do them all.
I don't doubt that. All right.
All right, buddy. We'll see you. Yes, sir. I could. I'd be afraid to try them now. All righty, so let's go ahead then. There's a Wilson School. Again, this is 53. I'm thinking this is probably either kindergarten or first grade, but I couldn't recognize any of these kids. So, okay, Lee, let's go to the next one then. And here we go. And I think this was either the same event. Obviously, they're on the stage there, but either the same event, like a multi-scene play, for example, or some kind of special occasion. They were obviously dressed in costumes. And I first thought it was Halloween, but I don't see enough goblins and ghouls and eerie-looking creatures to make me think it's Halloween. So aside from the other fellow in the other picture wearing the witch's hat, I'm not sure. All right, Lee, let's go to the next one then. Here you go. And it does, look up on the wall on the right-hand side, they misspelled the word cigarette. It says cigarette factory. And that jumped right out at me. And I don't know if it was some kind of play that had something to do with the tobacco industry or the manufacture and production of cigarettes. Could be. It's hard to say. But anyway, in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen there's an old phonograph there. And I'm afraid I cropped this picture a little bit too tight. I wanted to get just to the right of the phonograph was another device, and I could not identify it. I don't know what it was, and I'm sorry I cut it off. But in any case, it probably some multimedia type device that was used maybe to, I don't know, to amplify the sound or something. I'm not sure. Okay, Lee, I think we got one more in this grouping maybe. There you go. And again, this is all, I believe, the same event or same production. And a lot of these kids appear in each one of these photographs. But this is Wilson School, 1953. And they seem to be having a good time with it. They're all smiling, other than one little fellow who was scowling earlier in the witch's hats. All right, Lee, I believe that's the last one, is it not? That's the last one. Okay, bring it back to me. Folks, I want to thank you again for joining with us tonight. We love having you. I love getting your phone calls and your messages. And I thank you for bearing with us as we work through these technical issues. I'm going to make some phone calls and make some inquiries and see if we can figure out if there's anything we can do here in the station. Like I said, once the show is put out from this building, there are other entities that are involved in getting it broadcast out. And so I'm not sure that there's much we can do. Maybe outside the show, outside the building, there are some other entities we can talk to and do some things that maybe improve the signal, and we'll certainly make every effort to do that. In the meantime, thanks for bearing with us. Thanks for putting up with it. And your viewership means more than you know. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate it. Take care of yourselves, folks. Have a great week and be kind to each other. We'll see you next week with more Wayback Wednesday. Good night.
Company, servicing the area since 1977 with residential and commercial work.